take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Well, on the earth, take a little seed, put it in the ground, it'll come back to me.
All right, folks, Radical Russ here with 420 Radio in the auditorium of the Capitol Visitor Center with Tennessee's Congressman Steve Cohen. You've heard him on the show many a times. Congressman Cohen, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
So you're here speaking to the normal crowd. People are aware of your feelings on the drug war. Why do you feel so many of your colleagues are reticent to address this issue?
Well, I think the public at large supports it, but you have to realize that Congress is divided into red districts and blue districts because of the gerrymandering, redistricting of the state legislatures. And red districts are less likely to be in favor of decriminalization or legalization or medical marijuana or any of the other issues we've dealt with. So it makes it much more difficult for Republicans politically to be there. And then philosophically, some of them are just conservative old heads that don't get it or never will get it. I mean, we got Andy Harris from Maryland, who is known as the anti-guy here in D.C. and stopped the D.C. legalization effort from going through with an amendment on a bill here in Congress. And he and the mayor have gone back and forth, and there's a large kind of black market in marijuana here because it's legal to possess and to use in your home, but you can't buy it. So there's kind of an undercurrent, undermarket, and the reason is because they don't have it legally sold where the government can tax it and regulate it. So Andy Harris blames it on D.C. for continuing on with the legalization, which Congress couldn't stop, and the mayor here blames it on Andy Harris for having stopped the legalization effort, and of course she's right. But there are people like that who still believe, and there's Fleming from Louisiana and a couple of those others that go, it's a gateway drug. Well, you know, if marijuana is a gateway drug to heroin and cocaine and crack and meth, then kissing is a gateway activity to sexual addiction. And we don't want to stop kissing.
Now, you gained attention in the marijuana community with your fantastic hearings on C-SPAN with Michelle Lenhart, the outgoing DEA administrator, who was ousted because of apparently a sex scandal, despite the fact she couldn't say marijuana was less harmful than heroin or methamphetamine. Do you know anything about the predecessor, or not the successor, that they've indicated is going to take over the position?
I know he has a low bar to pass to be better.
Very well put. And final question, Congressman Cohen. It seems that we have a number of bills going through the House and the Senate with respect to marijuana reform. How much education are the congressmen and senators getting on this issue, and what can we as reformers do to help forward this issue?
Well, I think there are Congress people that want to come along, and there are different parts of different issues. Most of the issues are put together in the CARES bill that I have with about, I think now 15 different co-sponsors in the House, and it's the bill that Paul and Booker and Gillibrand have in the Senate. They introduced it, and we introduced it in the House, and it takes the VA exception where the doctors can then talk to the VA folks about medical marijuana in general. It takes the banking issue with marijuana. It takes the stay out of the legalized states where they're doing good DEA when it's been legalized by the people, and it takes the Charlotte's Web issue, and there may be another one too, and it throws them all into one bill. There are certain people that I got as sponsors because they either had a child that saw that or relative of the cannabinoids could help them with the epilepsy, and so they thought, well, I'll go on to that. Some of them that thought they were going to go on, then saw the rest of it, maybe backed off a little bit. But they're all issues that are really pretty much states' rights issues, and that's where Dana Rohrabacher comes and some of the Republicans is the states' rights. And that's where I got Congressman Young, who's a great person to have. He's the dean of the Republicans in the House from Alaska, and he's my co-prime sponsor, my Republican lead. That was a coup. There are other people that would be for it. We've gotten some of the people, I've just gone and solicited them, and I've been able to get, I think we got 8 Republicans. We'll get more. But people out the grassroots, so to speak, can contact their representatives and let them know that these issues are important, that it's a freedom issue, that it's also a fiscally important issue. For Republicans, it's states' rights and it's also fiscally responsible. No reason to spend money incarcerating people for something that really doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes no sense at all.
Congressman Cohen, thank you so much for giving us your time, and we appreciate you speaking to this event.
Nice to be with Radical Russ. Thank you. You're welcome.
420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally.
420 Radio is brought to you by Sacred Serum, who is focused on creating elegant and sophisticated cannabis solutions through its line of dispensers and vaporizers that come preloaded with the world's finest cannabis concentrate. Sacred Serum's concentrate is made on pharmaceutical-grade supercritical CO2 extraction machines that use absolutely no butane or other toxic chemicals. The Vesica, the company's innovative new way to dab and frost, is now available in dispensaries across California. Sacred Serum, elegance and sophistication concentrated.
Oregon has joined Washington and Colorado in legalizing marijuana. We're Portland NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws chapter in Portland, Oregon. Join us as we celebrate the launch of an exciting new era in marijuana freedom in Oregon. Our job has just begun. Powerful interests want to white out the most important portions of Oregon's legalization law. By joining Portland NORML, you add your voice to the thousands who voted for Measure 91 and want it to be implemented as written. The people have spoken. Now it is time for the legislature to obey the will of the people. Find out more about Portland NORML at portlandnormal.org. Attend our monthly membership meetings on the fourth Saturday of the month. See our website for more details. Portland NORML, ensuring responsible adult marijuana consumers are afforded the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities as beer drinkers. The fingerboard extension has fretted instruments to enhance your creativity. It has new and used guitars and banjos from beginning to high class. The fingerboard extension has National Resophonic, Husson Dalton, Larrabee, Heritage and Recording King guitars, and Mike Ramsey, Wildwood, Gold Tone, and Recording King banjos. The fingerboard extension also has drum stuff, used gear, and parts. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension, downtown Corvallis, Oregon at 120 Northwest 2nd, or check out the inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com and reverb.com.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We're joined by Congressman Steve Cohen, so thank you very much for being here, and a few remarks here. So let everybody know, of course, who you are. Steve graduated from Vanderbilt and went to University of Memphis Law School. He served in the Tennessee Senate for 18 years.
24 years.
24 years?
Yeah, don't take that. I'll explain that in a minute.
I know. Yes, bifurcation in there. And that's what seasoned him to come to the Congress in 2007. And since then has been one of the most vocal advocates for marijuana law reform in the Congress. And as Russ was interviewing him, he acknowledged that one place you can find Steve readily almost any week is on YouTube when Congress is in session, because over the last 3 or so years, his exchanges with folks from the DEA, the Drug Czar's office, NIDA, and just this past Tuesday with a Milwaukee sheriff are all on YouTube. Steve asked a question of the sheriff that, a lead-in question, as you would say, as a lawyer, that is it not true that marijuana does not contribute to the degradation of neighborhoods and society like hard drugs do, like cocaine and methamphetamine? And the law enforcement officer disagreed with him, and Steve just laughed, just absolutely laughed in his face, and that kind of demonstrates both the frustration, I think, and the chutzpah of acknowledging that these policies just don't work anymore. And in D.C., in Congress, because these policies, the reform of marijuana is so big and it touches so many different institutions, I myself personally don't think it's going to happen without some degree of a commission. And commissions in Congress is kind of the equivalent of CYA. So think of this as CCYA, Congressional Cover Your Ass. And Steve, I think, is sort of the progenitor of this idea, and I've sort of come up with this alliteration. I've always kept my header of the Cohen Commission on Cannabis and Commerce. One of the bills I don't think introduced in this session, which was introduced previously, were bills from Steve on a commission, a congressionally mandated commission to look at marijuana. And I think this is an excellent roll of the dice because there have been 14 previous commissions in Occidental society whether or not marijuana should or should not be decriminalized. Every single one, including the Schaefer Commission in 1972, said we should decriminalize it. So I think it's an excellent political risk on your part to put it out there. We have a NORML Board of Directors award for you, which I don't think will win you one more vote in Memphis that you don't already have, but I think if you lead the charge to get marijuana legal in the United States, you will never have to buy a doobie, a dab, or a dosed Little Debbie in your life.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll be like David Letterman. Please sit down. Thank you. I miss Dave. Yeah, he was phenomenal. I want to thank you for the award, and thank y'all for being here. It has been a long time coming. I've known Keith for almost 35 years, maybe, doing things in Memphis, and it has been a long time tumble journey from the west side of the park. Coming to the Congressional Auditorium and meeting with NORML and having y'all introduced as normal people rather than Abby Normal is really great. I reference back to what Alan said about 18 years, and this is kind of a funny story. One of my best friends in my life was Warren Zevon, and we were like best pals for about the last 5-6 years of his life. And Warren introduced me to several different people over the years that have become my friends. One of them was Michael Wolff. Michael is a jazz pianist and head of the Tourette's Association or group that comes up here and lobbies some, so I help them. Michael's wife is Polly Draper, who was an actress, was in 30-something and a great actress. Now it's ironic, it's a weird thing just about life. They're great people in their own right. Michael's this phenomenal pianist and composer, and Polly's a great actress and but they've got 2 kids, Nat and Alex. I've seen them since they were like, whatever, and they're big stars now. You might not know them because they're not in our, age world, but they're great big stars and they do movies, and Nat gets credits, and they're like 19 and 17. They had a band called the Naked Brothers that was like Ricky Nelson and Dave Nelson on Nickelodeon. And I'd go to schools in Memphis, and it'd be 3rd graders and 2nd graders, and say, "Do y'all know the Naked Brothers?" "Oh, yeah, they all knew the Naked Brothers." Well, I knew the Naked Brothers, so I was cool. So Polly comes up here one day to give me an award for Tourette's syndrome advocacy. And Polly says, "I've known Congressman Cohen through Warren Zevon for many years, and we called him Senator Steve. But before he came here, before he became a congressman, he served 24 years, not 18, 24 years in the Tennessee State Penitentiary." This is from a brilliant A student actress, brilliant. And I guess she did the play that the Innocence Project put on. What was it called? It was the Exonerated. Yeah. And she was in that play. And in that play, a lot of the characters come on and they go, Keith Strout served 36 years in the Texas State Penitentiary and was exonerated with DNA. So I guess she just had that in her mind, Tennessee State Penitentiary, 24 years. I thank you for this award. You're right, it won't get me a vote. But it will be an award that I accept with pride, and I will put it with the other awards that I have received, which are prominently displayed, that also don't get me any votes, but that I value. The ACLU Award, the Planned Parenthood Award, Human Rights Commission Award. In fact, one year in Tennessee, this was back, I think, Howard Dean was about to run for president, but nobody knew who he was. So I guess we're talking 2003 maybe. And Howard Dean had come to Nashville to speak to the Human Rights Campaign. He was getting an award for national stuff, and I was getting an award for state stuff. And that year many years earlier, I got the ACLU Bill of Rights Award. But I said, which is true, that I'm not only the only state senator in Tennessee to get the ACLU Bill of Rights Award and the Human Rights Commission Award, but I was the only legislator who would have accepted either award. So this award will go with those, and they're ones that I am very proud of, because this is why I should be in Congress. It gives me an area that I'm too familiar with as far as people being arrested and stigmatized and losing rights and having to hire lawyers for smoking marijuana, which should not be the case. And we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go. It's an issue, I think it was Dana Rourke, might have been Dana, might have been somebody else. It was somebody, it wasn't Dana, but one of the guys I knew that was a Republican and came up to me one day and he said, if you had one bill, might have been Darrell Issa, and he said that you could work on it and make it your legacy, what would it be? And I thought for a minute, we're on the floor of the House, and I said it'd be legalization or decriminalization of marijuana. And of course, he gave me a, he said, well, I think I'd pick something a little easier. We've come a long way since then, and it's not that difficult. So it's going to take still more time. We had one vote this year, and the vote was on the VA physicians being able to talk to their patients about medical marijuana, or marijuana, I guess, in general. And it failed by about 5 votes. And there were about 4 or 5 votes, whatever. 3 votes is all it was. And there were 4 or 5 Democrats who didn't vote for it. And maybe it was 6, and I probably shouldn't have done this, but I did it. It wasn't my bill, it was Blumenauer's bill, and Earl's been good on this issue. He's been great on the issue. But Earl, it's tough to do it because you got so many members. He said he worked on Republicans more than he worked on Democrats for the bill. So I went up and kind of did a little post-game analysis with some of these folks. Kennedy, I think it was because of his cousin Patrick. And Patrick is just, he's got a problem, and Patrick can't. His problem, he wants to exert to everybody else and make it their problem. I talked to him, and he said, well, it's a tough issue, and he kind of hemmed and hawed, and I gave him a little grief, and he might come around on something, I'm not sure. Keating was a prosecutor, and Keating's a friend, and he was a prosecutor, and I guess that's part of it, but Keating said, well, we don't prosecute people for marijuana in Massachusetts anyway, and that's for possession. Well, I don't know if that's right or not, but the bottom line is this was not about that. This was about VA doctors talking to guys that have gone and seen people spill their guts, and they can't talk about marijuana. Crazy. They said, well, it's illegal according to the board. Sandy Levin and I had a goodly discussion, and it continued on to another point. I think Sandy got a little confused because Sandy came up and I talked to him, and he made a point of saying, I'm for medical marijuana. I'm okay on medical marijuana. I'm not for legalizing it. I don't know, we've studied enough to know how it affects children's brains. And I said, but Sandy, you realize children shouldn't be seen, nor heard, nor smoke marijuana, nor drink alcohol, nor have sex. It's not about children. But I don't think he realized that VA bill was about medical marijuana, and he just made a mistake, and it's just a shame. Kennedy Keating, excuse me. Kennedy Keating may come around. And who else did we miss? We missed, the other one was Garamendi. And Garamendi was working another appropriations amendment. He said he just screwed up. Yeah. He just screwed up. So it's a shame. Levin screwed up, Garamendi screwed up, and they were straight.
How do you know that?
That's scary.
So we came close. I think the next thing to come up probably is going to be the amendment that I'll be on with Dana, and is it Sam Farr maybe? I know it's Sam, on DEA staying out of states that have legalized it. That we got a goodly chance to pass. Probably will in the House. Last time I think we had 230 something. There'll be other appropriations amendments that we'll have. Bills will be tough because it's tough to get a chairman to have a hearing or a vote in the House. I don't think Goodlatte is a likely prospect for that. Maybe somebody on Energy and Commerce could do it, and some of the bills could go to those committees instead. But it's getting to be more accepted. Democrats, it's pretty good. We don't have everybody who will come along. Republicans, there's still a difference in the way Republicans and Democrats look at these issues. While states' rights are strong with Republicans and fiscal conservative, this is not spending a bunch of money incarcerating people is important. They are not, their districts still have frowned upon decriminalization or legalization, and kind of they go back to the reefer madness stuff, a lot of their folks. And so it's more difficult for them politically. And then some of them just, you know, haven't evolved enough. They're in a different world. But we're making progress. So I thank you for this. I'd like to answer any questions you might have, because I'm sure I didn't cover some subjects, and if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and I thank you for this award. Yes, sir. Would you tell me where you're from?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My name is Ron Lockhart, and I'm from Boca Raton, Florida.
Lucky you. I'm going to Palm Beach tonight. Yeah.
You're about to get out to some beautiful weather.
Good.
My question is, I just heard this morning that obviously Michelle Leonhardt is now out at the DEA, and somebody named Robinson, I believe, is...
No, it's not Robinson. It's a Jewish name.
Rosenberg?
Rosenberg. And I have to admit, I'm Jewish. And so when I saw his name, I thought, yeah, maybe there's a chance. But there's some Nazi Jews, too.
He was quoted in, I think it was the LA Times, that he wanted to shake up marijuana, that he had some ideas of changing it. Do you think there's any chance that the DEA would reschedule it to a Schedule II drug?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, I've been pushing the president on that. I went to Valerie Jarrett, to McDonough, and to the president, and I said, I've got your policy for next year. Of course, there are other things maybe more important, and that's for him to focus on. And I picked, just like Alan did, the 4 C's. I picked the 3 C's. Cannabis, commutations, and Cuba. And made it simple. And cannabis has been there, and rescheduling it, and we write the president, you know, fairly frequently. And, you know, his head's in the right place. It just, the administration has not been able to put into practice what they believe. And that's been the same problem on commutations. They haven't issued many commutations. They want to issue commutations. They know a lot of people that for crack cocaine disparities shouldn't be in prison. But they've set up this convoluted process they can't get through. And there was a story in the Post just 2 days ago about the lady who's second in command. She's from Georgia. And how they've got this program to get people commutations, and they want to do it, but she said the process just hasn't been too slow. And it's like, you know, these guys are being warehoused, and they're rotting away. But so I hope he'll do it. I just don't know. We tried to research him and see if he had any history. We couldn't find much about him, because if he's well thought of, I guess, as a prosecutor, he was clean. I don't know what his positions were. And he's a bright guy. And he's an MOT. Yes, sir.
Congressman, I hope
You're from?
Colorado. I moved to Denver about 2.5 years ago. One of the refugees I want to be involved in this conversation around cannabis. Colorado is exploring that beyond just medical. So my question is, thank you. I mean, we are evolving around this topic of medical marijuana, but the reality now is we have an experiment in 4 states with recreational, so we've even evolved beyond that. So the question is, you know, is that going to make it even harder now to convince more members of Congress to come on board? Or do you think this might actually help us evolve the conversation even further and give
What do you mean? Because there's now recreational marijuana states?
Yeah, it goes past. Medical marijuana was always seen possibly as a trap, that we would get stuck. You're talking rescheduling. We need to talk descheduling.
Well,
Schedule 2 would shut down everything we're doing in Colorado, because very few of these businesses would meet that pharmacy standard that would be required to make sure you're bringing products through medical testing and then into the market. So
well,
2
my understanding is Schedule 2 would help with medical testing, at least maybe on Charlotte's Web.
testing, but what would it do to the production that's occurring at the moment? And would that production fit a standard of medical grade?
It wouldn't be worse than Schedule 1, would it?
It would be better than Schedule 1,
Right.
but may create a scenario where we have to reinvent some of this again.
Yeah, I'd like to see it, like you say, be scheduled, just like Letterman shows, be 6,029. But the next one, but you get what you can get, and it'd be great if because the White House would do it, but if the White House did it, and the Attorney General said to be scheduled 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, Congress could turn around and pass a law and change it.
You have to, though. They can make the act, but you would have to then change it to revert back.
Well, there's a difference of opinion on that whether we'd have to do it or not. But we could change the law if the Attorney General reclassified it, which he could do. Then we could still change the law after he did it. So it could go back and forth. I don't know what this. It's going to take a while. I think our best chances with this president. I'm for Hillary Clinton because she's going to be the Democratic candidate right on most all the issues, but she hadn't been good on marijuana, and it's bizarre. You need to. It's amazing you have to work on it. I mean, she should have it.
Holding a fundraiser for my house in Denver. There's no way to hide it. So We're doing our part.
Look how long it took her to get behind gay rights. Right. It took her a long time. Publicly. Right.
Well, there are politicians who
Time.
act from the gut,
Right.
and there are politicians who act based on the polls.
Right.
And, yeah. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Congressman. I want to thank you for all the awesome work you've been doing for our cause. My question is there any conversation going on with your colleagues about protecting the rights of medical patients traveling from state to state? And any protections also being discussed about people traveling from legal state to legal state, as far as recreational and medicinal?
Best of my knowledge, none whatsoever. The only thing I know on is the crazy lawsuit that the states that border Colorado filed to say that it was hurting them and they had some kind of standing. It's funny that you say that because we had a bill on guns and right to carry bills. I sponsored the right to carry bill in Tennessee and passed it in the 90s. I think if you can pass a test and you don't have a criminal background or been mental institutionalized, and you can hit the target, and so okay, and those people have not caused problems in society. But I put some strong standards in there and said you had to be, I believe what we said is you had to be 21 to get a gun permit. Now some states say you only have to be 18. We said 21. The House passed a bill that said if you had a gun permit in one state and you went to another state, that state had to recognize the gun permit of the other state. So in essence, if you got a gun permit in Alabama and you're 18, and you come to Tennessee, you can carry a gun if you're 18. But you can't if you're a Tennessean because of our law, and their law trumps our law. Well, you'd think with the Republican idea of states' rights, they wouldn't be for it. But it's like, guns trump everything. And so that issue's come up, traveling around states with guns, but it hadn't come up with marijuana, but it's a good argument, and it makes a lot of sense, but it has not come up, and I've not heard it at all. Alan, have you heard it at all being discussed?
No, in terms of a bill being introduced, there are state laws that protect individuals of those states. The TSA has a standing memo that if you travel with cannabis and you can prove that you're a medical patient, they'll largely let you go through. But they've busted some people with 4 ounces of marijuana, but people with 2 ounces and an ounce of hash get through. So it's not clear.
Does it depend on whether the TSA based that on if it's legal in the state where they're doing it?
So all those airports in the Colorados and Washingtons and Maines of the world, those TSAs have a standing order to only look for explosives and guns and sharp devices and let the marijuana go through if it doesn't look like it's packaged for resale, etc.
We should put in, and Ben, you're here, tell Matt, I didn't realize we hadn't put our commission bill in, and we need to do that. That should go in this year, and we should get that done. And secondly, we might ought to do a bill, and maybe it's the expansion, because we're on the Charlotte's Web bill with the Republican from Pennsylvania, I believe it is, to allow folks who have Charlotte's Web to travel. And if it's the cannabinoids only, that they should be, because we had the little girl in my district named Chloe Grauer died. She was 3 and she had epileptic seizures, and I visited her home. Her parents, I knew her father, kind of, he was a bartender around town, but the family's basically Republican. The grandmother's nice lady, Republican, but blah, blah, blah. They saw what happened with their granddaughter, and they were going to go to Colorado, and they got the letter from Colorado that somebody would get them marijuana. They were going to go to Colorado and get it and risk bringing it home for her, and she died the next day. So, I mean, the cannabinoids is a serious issue. I understand if you pass the cannabinoids, it takes kind of some of the umph away, but, we've got Sanjay Gupta.
Yeah.
research just gets stymied by the scheduling. And that's one of the problems, and we've talked and talked and talked about that. And we just, that's a problem. So the rescheduling of marijuana would be a major gateway or opening for research. And the cannabinoids are, that's phenomenal for kids. And as far as the rest of it, and this is another reason why NORML, go back and give you a little story. Some of y'all might have heard it when I've talked on the floor. I had this great friend named O.J. Mitchell. And O.J., you probably met O.J. Keith. He lived at Ira's house for a while back in the 70s. Yeah. He was from D.C., and he was a Navy SEAL, Vietnam, and tough guy. And he died of pancreatic cancer in 1995. Now, it wasn't legal or anything, but I came up here and visited him in Bethesda. And he was this guy, he weighed a couple hundred pounds, tough, strong guy, and worked on the oil rig boats off the service, the oil rigs off of Louisiana, and come back to Memphis, but anyway. And his mother, who was like 80-something, she said, "Thank God for the marijuana. It's the only thing that makes Oral eat or smile." And how can you argue against something that the guy's dying? He was emaciated down to 130 pounds, and his mother says it's the only thing, thank God, that lets him smile or eat. And he was the head of NORML at the Memphis State chapter. He was about 40 years old, and he swore he would not date any upperclassmen because he wanted to keep tradition. Yes, sir.
I'm Robert. I'm from Long Island, New York. I was wondering, since people who use medical marijuana legally are still considered to be prohibited persons for purposes of the Gun Control Act by the federal government, has there been any discussion of maybe trying to make it so this way people who use legal medical marijuana are not considered ineligible to buy a firearm?
Well,
any talk of that?
I think there's been some discussion, but I think the main thing there is it's mostly state laws. Now, I know the ATF has your rules too, but it's state laws that govern right to carry. And I would think it's pretty much, up to state law on that. The ATF may have some regulations I'm not thinking about.
Well, the federal act that does it is the Gun Control Act of 1968, and that just lays out the broad things that make you a prohibited person, like being a convicted felon, being someone who uses illegal narcotics, which for the federal government.
I think that's going to be a long, to be a real leap. And to start talking guns and marijuana, and while I'm okay on, right to carry, I don't think that's an issue that's going to be for somebody in the generation beyond me to deal with. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Lisa Padilla. I am also from New York. I'm interested in finding out about banking. I don't understand why Congress hasn't been proactive in terms of permitting banks to accept registered organizations in various states to open up bank accounts.
Well, there are bills to do it. I think Perlmutter's we got the bill in Colorado and all.
Right.
And it's part of our CARES bill, but it just
hasn't, who can we visit, we can help you get the votes to be able to.
The bankers.
Well, the bankers say that it's Congress.
Well, but the bankers could make Congress act.
Because they're lobbyists. Yeah, they're all lobbyists.
Yeah, because you know what they got?
Lobbyists.
Money.
So you really think it's the issue is the bankers are just reluctant for some reason?
Well, I think they could help. I don't think it's necessarily they're an impediment, but I think that's the people that have got the oomph that would benefit, and they need to get them involved.
Right. It just doesn't make sense because the banks, I would think, would be making money from having these accounts,
and it prevents crime because people aren't toting around a bunch of
But apart
cash.
from that, you could pay your taxes faster if you have a bank account.
It all makes sense.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a difficult subject for people to get onto. Some people are afraid, you vote for something and they'll say you're for marijuana, and even if it's just for banking, and people think, oh, it's a bad thing and we want to keep it illegal, so they don't want to touch it. But it's got to. I would think if the bankers got behind it in the committees, they could make it happen.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We're meeting with reps today. I'm Mitch Earlywine. I'm also from New York, and I'm just curious if you had any coaching for us about talking to our representatives or their staff.
Well, just let them know how many. If you have any polling for their districts, it'd be great. If you can talk, if the Republicans, talk to them about states' rights and talk to them about fiscal conservativeness and that stuff, and just, go to your market and tune your argument to who your customer is. Yes, sir. And ask them to sign on to the carers bill if they would. Yeah.
Kevin Mamology, National Outreach Coordinator for NORML. Currently live in Colorado. Kind of piggyback off of what the ladies that were bringing up about the banking issue. It seems incredible, like there's an incredible disconnect with Congress on this issue because, you know, as you know, the Cole memo that was issued called for strict and high regulations in these states that pursue recreational marijuana. And with states like Colorado, for example, they experienced $461 million in sales in 2014 alone. Doesn't that play into the Cole memo's desire to see a tightly regulated market? I mean, I don't think that we should necessarily say the bankers aren't behind it, therefore it shouldn't happen, because it poses a tremendous amount of public safety risk.
I don't say bankers are against it. I just think if they got for it, they would have the lobbying clout to maybe make it happen. And you know, all the arguments you make sense. But the Schaefer Commission made sense in 1972. It was policy-wise, but Nixon and his guys knew that politically they wanted to whoop up on, you know, tough on crime and the inner city and blacks. So they didn't care about what made sense.
Right.
And I forget, I saw something recently, and probably I should have known it, but it was something like you can't argue logically with somebody who's, you know, illogical. And, you know.
If I will, just the director's prerogative on the mention of the Schaefer Commission. In a meeting one time in Congressman Cohen's office, we were talking about, you know, the commission and how it came about, and some of the staff, we were asking them if they knew about the audio recordings in Nixon's office when Governor Schaefer came to deliver the news of the executive summary saying, we're going to come out in favor of decriminalization. And Mr. Nixon goes off on this incredible anti-Semitic tangent, going after a conspiracy of Jewish psychiatrists, which then Steve's going through his desk and he pulls out the photograph of from a previous era of a debonair older man and says, like my father, a Jewish psychiatrist, who was a prominent psychiatrist and professor at University of Miami. So, yes.
Was it Holloman or Ehrlichman? It was one of the
Ehrlichman was in the room being berated to, ironically.
That was, it was amazing to hear those. We used that, you're talking to Leonard. And I think that the fellow that the drugs are now, from Massachusetts, right? You know, he might be better. And I think after the hearing, he came up and it was almost like a whipped dog. And it was kind of like he wanted to say, you're right and I'm sorry, but he couldn't say it and because of his position.
He's a good man and he's in recovery. He's definitely more humanistic than any drug czar we've had previously.
Do y'all have any people that can get to talk to, you know, the new Attorney General has got a bad position too.
Yeah.
Is there any way that they can talk to Obama? Do y'all have somebody that's a major contributor that can say, hey, Soros?
The Soros contingency definitely has the strongest influence about where major democratic politics are moving, and these are planks now. California, the Democratic Party has as its plank legalization, so this is getting institutionalized.
Is Soros mostly the Drug Policy Alliance? Is that his? Yeah, that's his deal.
Yeah.
But that's, the president could do it, and it's just crazy. And he can do commutations and not have anybody say he's overreaching, and he doesn't do it.
We'll have the Koch brothers do it.
Yes, sir.
Kevin Oliver of Washington State. Any rumors of tax reform, 280E tax reform, so that businesses that are following the full memo in recreational marijuana space get business deductions?
I think there's a bill to that effect. And, you know, I don't know where it stands. And, you know, again, it's just like everything else. There may be just a floodgate one day and everything passes. Just need to work on it. Who's the sponsor? Is it Perlmutter?
Yeah, for 280.
Yeah. Can we make a co-sponsor on that?
Me? Yep. I'm fine on it. Yeah. I mean,
Can we get you to be a co-sponsor?
Yeah, I'd be co-sponsor. You know, I'm good on all that stuff. No problem. I've crossed the Rubicon. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Dick Dunn. The city here actually wrote an article asking for the DuPont for that community, which was recently passed. Survey the citizens, they don't like the police because it's like a law against making schools, put hardships on families. them their lives, it's costing them waste time with petty stuff when they really need to work on real criminals. And then there's another group called LEAD that's really starting to sprout out, which is what we really need across America. It's law enforcement assisted diversion. It's where the government, the police, the social services, and business people go together to help people get back on their feet, whether it's any drug deal or whatever. We're tired of being treated as criminals. If they want to treat us and give us an option, treat some as patients, and let's see it through. But this prohibition is a law that never should have been. It was the corporations that basically changed the thick with politicians here for their own benefit, which is hurting our land, hurting our people, and it's time to stop.
I got you.
So,
Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work. One last question.
Right here. Hi, my name is Rob Ryan from Blue Ash, and my congressman is Brad Winstrup, Dr. Brad Winstrup. Is any advice on bringing so-called the Nixons to China kind of movement to get the Republicans to actually move? Any suggestions that you might have?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Where's your home?
Cincinnati. So Dr. Brad Winstrup is my congressman, and he multiple times has said, "Yeah, Rob, you're right. You know, there's medical use, blah blah blah," and he, continues to send these nonsense letters back. You know what I mean? But
I haven't met him. Is he first term or second term?
he's, I think he's second term now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know much about him, and I don't know how to get it. Shabbat's a better, pretty good guy.
Yeah, I've met him a couple times. My suggestion, they talked about LEAP, the acting police superintendent from Chicago, McCarthy, is excellent. He's not LEAP, but he should be. And he came down to Cincinnati and drew a direct line from the war on drugs to the poor community relationships, which Governor Kasich kind of made a task force for that shooting in Beaver Creek at the Walmart with the gun.
But Chicago, didn't they just have a referendum in Cook County or the policy change on marijuana?
Yeah, but he's the acting police superintendent, and he's speaking very clearly.
Well, thank you for the award very much. I appreciate your activism.
Support for 420 Radio comes from Kick-Ass Cannabis and Veggies, a guide to gardening with nature, authored by Kip Zonderkopf. Based on the ethos that a living soil is the foundation of a thriving garden, Kick-Ass Cannabis and Veggies is your guide to naturally growing resinous buds and nutrient-rich veggies. Get the ebook now with instant download at kickassorganics.com. Previews available on Amazon, iTunes, Nook, Google Play, Kobo, and many other online retailers. Are you tired of storing your herb in back alley baggies? Then keep your herb fresh and protected with Pottles. Pottles are airtight and odor-free. Not to mention they're reusable, BPA-free, and UV-resistant. Pottles come in a variety of sizes, styles, and colors, so go check out Pottles at mypottles.com. Use the code STASH to get an additional 10% off. Again, that's mypottles.com, mypottles.com, and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
Radical Russ here in the Rayburn House office building with two fine, fine women who are lobbying the Georgia state delegation. Who are we visiting?
What did you say?
Who are we visiting?
We're visiting everybody right now that we can. We went and saw David Perdue, and Johnny Isaacson so far. There are senators. Now we're hitting the House of Representatives. We've got about 8 of them. I'm not going to name them all. It'll take too long. And
We also ran into Howard Wooldridge from Citizens Opposing Prohibition. He's here with his cowboy hat and his Cops Say Legalize Pot t-shirt. We're here at the offices of Representative David Price from North Carolina. Let's see what we find out.
Oh, you're filming.
Just filming. Howard, in action. Can I what? Oh, yeah, that's very good. You don't want
And if they see it in the back, they're walking with you, so they have more than time to see it. See? And people want like when I was up in the office, somebody wanted my picture. So you don't want the glasses messing up the picture.
Okay,
so just
great.
keep them back. It's just learn these things.
See, and that's why I sent you a friend request. This is the stuff I need to know.
Actually, no one's sitting up here right now.
Oh, no.
I'm like,
We're quick.
Yeah.
He's quick. I'll let him do his thing in there.
So how has your time been here so far?
It's been great.
Have you seen any representatives, senators?
I got to talk to Senator Isaacson's staff, and while he came up and called my name, Senator Perdue's office was calling me back. So hopefully we'll get by there to see him. But we did see Isaacson's staff and did talk about the VA amendment to that, and he took a note on it. So hopefully he will forward that to him. So it's been great.
The world's fastest lobbyist.
No. This is a day where I'm passing out a bill to about 300 offices. So if you spend 1 minute per office, do the math.
5-hour day.
That's a 5-hour day. And trust me, in the halls of the Congress, a 5-hour day is a long day.
Yeah.
Because you have to stay up. You got to be ready at a moment's notice to turn the corner, and there's a congressman.
Right.
And you got to be ready to say, "Hey, Congressman Price, how you doing? Can you think 10th Amendment and marijuana in the green plants in the same sentence?" And that's a trick. And I'm after 10 years, I'm fairly good at it, but I still have better and worse days. So that's why it's mentally exhausting that for 5-6 hours, you're just at the peak of your mental alertness.
You're always on for a 10-second soundbite.
You're always on for a 10-second soundbite. You never know someone's going to shove a camera in their face, like
like somebody. Well, you got quite the contingent here with you too, so looks like we're going to have a good day lobbying. All right.
And I just thought of this. If you guys want to, you can go do other offices when we're done here. This ain't rocket science. This is like Seth Whitecotton of Atlanta did. He was here for 3 days. I showed him how to do it, and what we're doing now. And he went off by himself in the Senate, all by himself. He's a 30-year-old male. And you guys can, do the same thing. You're kind of getting the idea of the pattern, or actually Kim. And it's not complicated. And you don't have to say, since you're not supposed to say, "Hi." Let's see, what would I say if I were you? I'm just here to drop something off. That's always the first thing you want to say. So you're not here for an appointment or whatever else. So then they kind of. And then you simply say, and this is for your judiciary, LA, and then for your boss, the member, the congressman. We hope that he will think of green plants and the 10th Amendment in the same sense. Now, the reason I say green plants and not marijuana is absolutely, everything I do here is with a purpose, with a way to weave into the conversation more than just the words you say. So, green plants lowers the importance of marijuana to where it should be. It's a bleeping situation which is less important than 3-2 beer. And when you say green plants as a policy, you're bringing it down even another notch. You can say if you say it's less dangerous than alcohol. Well, you just kind of made it up there with alcohol -1. But if you say it's just a green plant, and then 10th Amendment, again, for everybody, it's getting simpler and simpler, and that's why I say green plant and not marijuana. Okay?
Divide and conquer.
Oh, whatever it takes to win. It's like as an example, and this is good for posterity. So when somebody asks me why, who's white? My answer is we need to have the police go after pedophiles hurting kids. Second is we don't want kids having a job option to sell, which gets kids shot and killed. If it's a black or brown person, I reverse that. Because what's more important, because black people and brown people have often been to the funeral or know the third cousin that died or got shot selling. So you say, the first thing you say to a black or brown person is, I do, is say, we don't want kids having a job option which can get them shot and killed. That's just immoral. Immoral is a good word, because if it's a religious person, you want to say, this is immoral, right? And then the second reason is pedophiles. I got grandkids, and if you're flying around in a helicopter, you're not catching pedophiles. What's more important to you, pedophiles or Willie Nelson? or Snoop Lion. I pick on Willie Nelson, Snoop Lion, Cheech and Chong, the obvious three icons of marijuana. And as you see, even though I'm the lead, I only talk about marijuana here, unless you bring it out of me. Because at the moment, for the next couple of years, it is focused like a laser on the green plant. Okay, and that's not easy. That's easy for you guys because you're normal. But that's I say. But I do it now. Which when I first got here, my boss said you can't just talk about marijuana. You got to talk about all drugs legalized at one time, which was nonsense and silly. But you know, my boss Jack Cole said this is what you got to do. So I was getting paid. So but now I'm a volunteer, just like you. I get paid expensive. Lunch was paid for by my packers. But I work here for free, volunteer, so I can pretty much say what I want within within reason.
Legal reason.
Right. And you cannot upset your donor base. So, okay, let's go. Well, you know, it's people say, so I love your job, so how do I be a lobbyist? I said, it's First Amendment.
Yeah.
The right to redress grievances to the government. That's a lobbyist.
Right.
Anybody can be a lobbyist. You all are lobbyists today.
Yes.
The trick is to get somebody who thinks you running your mouth is so good, they'll pay you.
Pay you money.
Pay you money to run your mouth. And that's all you do as a lobbyist.
You got that? If I run my mouth well enough, somebody should support me to do this.
That's right.
That's the ticket. Now you're going to help me use that to get a fundraiser for the DPA conference, right?
That's
DPA
right.
conference.
That's right.
You're awesome, Russ. Our media team couldn't come at the last minute.
So I'm the media team.
You're the media team. You're a lifesaver.
Oh, 420 radio. Right.
It's real?
That's right, 420 radio, Portland, Oregon. Oh, nice. Good to see you. Kayvon's over there. So we're here to lobby for legalization of marijuana. Is that okay with y'all?
Yeah, that is okay.
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, let me get out.
So come on, take off. Put your phone, talk about your show the pictures of your art.
Yeah, let's see your art.
Legalizing marijuana. Take a picture of your painting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's see it. What's your name?
Kayvon Halman, Visual Arts from Duke Ellington School of the Arts.
Fantastic.
I'm a rising young scene. I'll show you it right now. Oh, my. Right here. Hey.
Very nice. We get in on that. That's pretty.
Hold on real quick. I got a painting right here I think you would love to see.
Is your work online if people want to check it out?
Yes. Look at me on Facebook, Kayvon Howell.
K-A-Y-V-A-N?
K-A-V-O-H-N, Howell, H-O-W-E-L-L.
All right, let's check it out. We're going to look at a picture of a picture.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a picture of a picture.
Yeah, you are.
We're getting real meta on this one here.
Hold on. Here we go. I don't have any actual finished products of it, but hold on, let me turn the brightness up real quick for y'all. There y'all go.
Oh, pretty.
This is the finished piece right here.
Yeah.
But I also have a little tattoo artwork I think y'all would love to see right here.
Oh yeah, looking good.
There we go.
There's the leaf.
420 every day, all day.
That's
on the
right,
daily.
Right on.
You hear me?
I can.
Hold up, hold up. Some grinder action real quick for y'all. Show it up.
You guys down the
There we go.
Excellent.
There we go. Perp on deck.
So 420 Radio is 24-hour,
Thank you.
24-hour marijuana legalization talk radio. We have an app on the iPhone and Android. 420
Yes, sir.
Radio.
Thank you.
My name's Radical Russ. I do a show 5 days a week, live, 2 hours a day about marijuana reform. Any questions you ever have, I'm Radical Russ everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, SoundCloud, Snapchat, Glide. That's right. Come over here. All right.
And what time is it on, Russ, on the East Coast?
East Coast time, I'm on 6 p.m. And 9 p.m. at replays. Oh, sorry. Try this one more time. That might be my last card.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Thanks, Kayvon.
Today.
And the cops say legalize pot. He's my man. Every day. That's my man. Howard.
Well, quite an adventure here, speaking to the... Nice to meet you, Kayvon. Speaking to the young people out here front. We're visiting their Congress people. This is how lobbying works, folks. It's just meeting people face to face.
Talking. That's all you gotta do. When we're talking, we're winning.
That's right. Ready to go in again?
Yes.
Talking about it winning. All right, they're going to go in. I'm going to leave the camera out here.
Especially because of, Governor Perry connection.
I'm Radical Russ at the Rayburn House office building. We're going to call it, for now, we're in front of the offices of Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, a strong supporter of our cause, but unfortunately, under the laws, she has no vote in Congress. That's why you see the license plates here in Washington, D.C. will say taxation without representation, because they have to pay income taxes here. They have to pay their federal taxes, but they have absolutely no vote in the federal Congress. So we hope someday Eleanor Holmes Norton will actually get a vote. Maybe D.C. will get statehood. I'm Radical Russ here in Washington, D.C. for the normal legislative fly-in lobby day. We'll be back in just a moment.
Warning, hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that.
Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you.
Hi, I hope this is an answering machine. My name is Lauren Unruh, Reverend Lauren Unruh. I am absolutely furious with you. You are slandering my religion. We have a constitutional right, and just because the Supreme Court has put some gobbledygook together is no reason for you to support that crap. NORML has not supported anyone's freedom of religion for the 40 years that I've been paying attention. So I was a Girl Scout. And you know what happened to me? NORML did not support me. I have been blogging for 8 years. And you know what happened to me? People like you made fun of me, and I was brutally raped. So, Russ, Belville, I hope you're satisfied. I hope when I meet you in person, you can look me right in the eye and you can say, "Oh, right, Lauren, I don't care about your religion. It's perfectly okay with me."
So you gotta protect it, the mother earth, you got to respect it. By using that good, what gives so much. Some papers rush, so you know we'll finally be on about the plant the mother has grown. This time around, you know if you haven't heard, we love it.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it,